Welcome back to the Light Up Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Peters, and today we're diving into a topic that affects every single one of us. And unfortunately, it's something most of us were never taught in school, and that's financial literacy. Joining me today is Dr. Kehinde Thomas. He's a financial educator, entrepreneur, and wealth strategist with over 25 years of experience helping thousands of families, business owners, build financial confidence, protect their assets, and prepare for retirement. Welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Absolutely, Samantha. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Before we even do anything, I just want to say this. A massive shout out to you. And I took a moment to look at your podcasts, and I see the light you're bringing into the world, literally educating a lot of people using this platform. So it's beautiful to be here. Very.
Thank you so much. I really
Sure.
appreciate that. And just to give the audience a backstory, I met Kehinde at a Patrick Bet-David event. It was at his boardroom cigar lounge for the Freedom 250 event. So that's where we originally met.
That's right. It was a great event, by the way.
Yeah, it was so great. So many incredible people. For those listening to you and hearing your story for the first time, can you tell us a little bit about your story and what inspired you to dedicate your career to financial education?
Actually, Samantha, it kind of like started this way. I was born in Nigeria. When I was 7 years old, my dad was going to church, had a car accident, and died on the spot. So mom has to raise 8 children by herself. And I grew up in an environment that's very male dominated. So I couldn't even imagine how my mom pulled it off, honestly speaking, because at the time I was so young. I have a twin brother. So to see that this woman raised all of us by herself, to me, is still a miracle today. But that experience took place between the age of 7 and 14. Life was just different. Like it wasn't anything I knew. We'll talk about going to a school of really hard knocks. 3 meals a day was a struggle, holes in my shoes. I remember like yesterday. And something took place at the age of 14 I will never forget. It's permanently inscribed in my brain. And it was this. It got to a point that my mom couldn't make rent. Landlord was trying to collect. She couldn't pay. A man is yelling at my mom. Don't know who the man was. Then, of course, I realized the landlord. She's crying. I'm crying. And I said, Mom, I promise you I'm going to build you a house. But I'm only 14. So what house do you build at 14? I don't even know where it came off. It just rolled off my tongue. I don't even know where it came from. So that changed my entire life. As a matter of fact, it's an event that came as a gift that kept giving. So I never really had the teenage years or anything like that. I just moved. I just wanted to help my mom, wanted to build a house for her, etc. And before you knew it, I ended up in the United States as an exchange student. That's how I came to the States. That's back in the days. I was actually going to be a Catholic priest, literally, in the seminary. Yes. So after so many years, of course, I left the seminary. Then I decided, okay, what should I do? So I went into sports. And it's funny. I wanted to try out for the Pittsburgh Steelers when I think about all of this. It was back in the days. Yes. So, and then, of course, I met with all of them. Big Cow was the coach back in those days. Anyway, this is a different era. And I was almost signing a contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers back then, for some millions of dollars. But I hyperextended my knee. It never worked out, never got to play. And somebody just invited me to a random activity. I went there. The next thing I knew, I got involved in the insurance business, literally. That's because I was just looking for an avenue to build a house for my mom. That was it, nothing else. So once they presented the opportunity, like, hey, listen, you can make a lot of money. You could do this. I'm like, hold on a second. I can make how much? Can I make $1 million here? Yeah, you could. Really? Yeah. Okay. So what do I need to do? So for me, it was so simple. Like I just wanted to take care of my mom so bad. I was looking for a platform to do it. And God gave me that platform. So I executed. And the next thing I know, I was in the insurance business. So I worked for a prior firm, worked my way up there to vice president, left that place, then became part of my current firm. We were just talking earlier, how I met PBD and so on and so forth, then got a mentorship from him. And the next thing I knew, I had a video that went super viral, with the School of Hard Knocks. And that video just opened the world, literally. And I'm everywhere, ever since. And it's been amazing. So I mentor people on the side. I do consulting on the side. I have the insurance business at the same time. But my focus, though, Samantha, is one thing. I feel like financial literacy should be a civic right. Like, just like we have any other rights, it should be a civic right. And the reason why is because when people make decisions in the dark when it comes to their money, they can't control the outcome. So therefore,
Mhm.
people end up making money losing it. And how can you expect a man or a woman, a father or a mother to make the best decisions for their children when they are struggling to put food on the table, roof over their heads? It's tough because they have to worry about survival first before anything else. So my mission is to fill in the gap. So to teach financial literacy to as many people as one or here. That's why I established this thing called TOMP, TOMP, the 1 million people project. And the goal is just to touch 1 million people's lives, when it comes to financial literacy, so that people can talk about money in a different fashion or way that we were never taught before and end up changing their lives and establishing a legacy for them. So that's why I'm very passionate about all of this. So that's my story in a nutshell.
I love it. It's such a beautiful story. And I was going to ask you the defining moment that made you realize that financial literacy was going to be your lifelong mission. But it seems like your mother is such a huge part of your why and your story. And I think that's so beautiful. And I'm sure you were able to buy the house for her, right?
I did
Oh,
100%. 8 bedroom house, everything. Let me say something to
wow.
you. I get emotional when I talk about this, Samantha. I get emotional. If God had taken my life the day that house was finished, for me, my entire existence was complete. It
Oh,
really was.
wow.
And I don't take it lightly. I don't know how to put it to you. It's just, it was complete. I get chills all over my body just,
I got chills
going
right
through that.
now.
Yes, it was complete because she was my mom, she was my dad, she was my brother, she was my sister, she was what I knew, she was everything, literally everything. So my existence was primary to make sure that I take care of her, knowing what she went through. She
Mhm.
died, 7, 8 years ago, and I'm happy because I know I'm gonna see her one day. But I fulfill what I could do, literally for her. So yeah, anyway, every time I talk about this, my head goes in a different space. So let me make sure I get back to the podcast here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love hearing these stories. Do you have a video of you showing her and handing her the keys to the house that you bought her?
No, I have the houses over there. I know. You know what? You're the first one to ever ask me that. But when I tell the story, somebody asked me about close to a year ago, do you have a video? I'm like, no. As a matter of fact, when it was completed while I was here, because I sent money over there. I was already here. So they built it and finished it, and they sent me the pictures and everything. I know
Okay.
I had gone in there, I had the smile on her face and everything. But there was no video. I just had pictures. That's what I have. And then, of course, then I spoke with her constantly, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
It was
nice.
good. It was good.
Yeah, such a blessing. For people listening to this, if you could educate someone that's 18 years or older with 3 money lessons, what would they be?
Oh, no. Oh, wow. That's a good one. Number one, there's direct and straight to the point. Stop appearing rich and actually putting efforts to becoming rich. That's number one. But what I find in our society is this: everybody just want to, everybody wants to. Not everybody. Let me correct myself here. The way our society construct is such that respect comes from appearance. I drive the luxurious car. I look this way. I wear the Gucci. I wear this. I wear the watches. Oh my God! That's how. So people, therefore, spend tremendous amount of time specifically to appear rich when they're not. So rather than having to buy the cars that you couldn't afford or the watches that you couldn't or any of those things, invest the money. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, insurances, real estates, and the list goes on. Commodities, whatever, but invest on something that's going to give you something back in return. Number two, honestly, don't go after money until you work on your identity. Let me explain this, okay? It's identity first, money second. Okay, let me give you an example. So I drive a Bentley. This version of me that drives a Bentley, if I was driving a Bentley, Samantha, maybe 20 years ago, I would self-destruct because I wasn't mature or ready for it. The attention you get, all this other stuff will distract you. But today, of course, a different story because of maturation. So here's the thing. If you don't work on your identity first and know who you want to be, who you're becoming, where you're going, what is your existence? I mean, what's your goal? Like, what's your passion? What do you want out of life? Like, if you're not clear about those things and you go after money, money will only expose you for who you are.
So
It doesn't
true.
change you. It just magnifies you. So your identity first. If you're a good person, money makes you better. If you're a bad person, money makes you worse. Work on your identity. That's number two for me. Number three, still on money lessons, and I talk about this all the time. This is not in order of importance, but to me, it's as equally very, very important. I believe in entrepreneurship. Let me explain what I mean by that. You see, the whole concept of 9 to 5 is a starting point. Our society was never designed specifically to make you rich or wealthy on 9 to 5. Never was. As a matter of fact, 9 to 5 was established for the servant class. So when people like your Ford, your Rockefeller, all of those people back in those days, they needed people to work in the factory, and so they needed people to come and go, and they had to help regulate the time, and that's where the concept of 9 to 5 came about. But nobody is designing 9 to 5 for you to become wealthy. That's just enough to pay your bills and keep you coming back. That is 9 to 5. So if you're solving the X you're solving for money, and let's say it's freedom, financial freedom, the ability to be able to come and go, pay your bills, money, no money problems at all, then you have to go for the highest opportunity to actually accumulate wealth, which is the ability for you to create your own thing, to become an entrepreneur, produce something. They asked me a question in one of the podcasts, and I said, listen, who makes the most money, the consumer or the producer? Like I said, the producer. Okay, producers produce, consumer consume. The person that controls the narrative is the producer. In this case, you can interchange the producer to an entrepreneur. So if you really want to make money, then go create something, go build something. And then I will drop this message. Most people think that the moment I start a business, so therefore you ought to take off the ground and, oh my God, you have to win. And so we're talking about at the beginning. And people give up so fast, so quick, and they lose vision of your dream because they expect it to be overnight success. But it's a long-term thing. And I compare that to a farmer who has to plant, a corn, for example. So first, he's got to go find money to buy the corn. There's going to have to buy the land. There's going to have to buy tractors. He's going to have to hire help. He has to do all of these things before they have to test the soil, then they have to plant the corn. Now, look at the faith of a farmer though. A farmer will build a silo expecting to harvest in harvest season. He has a faith, or she has faith that, well, I'm going to harvest. So when the harvest season comes, watch this. Locusts could come around and eat all of the produce. Locusts could come around. There could be drought, no water. Everything could perish. But in spite and despite of all of those things, the silo is built. And he starved at the beginning. Things were rough at the beginning. He emptied his pocket at the beginning. He put everything he's got into it at the beginning. He's starving. Everybody's eating steak. He's eating ramen noodles. He doesn't have money. But then when harvest season comes, what happened? He got so much
Mhm.
that more than enough for his family that he can feed an entire village, aka financial freedom. This is entrepreneurship 101. And this is the part I feel like a lot of people are missing because they want instant success. It's not happening. Then they keep comparing to this person there, that this person there, and that person over there. But everybody have their own season. Everybody have their own time. And you're not late. And when your time comes, it's like your name just got called. You go to the top. It's just the way it works. So I just have to make sure I share that with you because that's one of the things I see common. And I think it's an easy fix by adjusting the mindset of how entrepreneurship should be and how you should make sure that you literally give everything you got and don't quit in the waiting.
I love everything you said, and I completely resonate with it. I did a goal setting workshop yesterday, and I really talked about identity transformation. Who is the person you need to become in order to achieve the goal? People want instant success, like you said, but they're not willing to put in the time, the energy, the effort in order to sustain that success.
That's
People will get
correct.
a lump sum of money and then they'll be broke the next year because they didn't build the foundational character, they didn't build the foundational values, their core principles to be able to sustain it. Thank you for sharing that advice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's so many intelligent people out there, a lot of people working 9 to 5, but people are still struggling financially. Why do you think that is?
Okay. Uh, that's a good, very, very good question. You see, money, honestly speaking, money is just really paper. The real money is your mind. It really is. It's not how much money you make. That's not what makes you wealthy. And I talk about this all the time. The struggle of a lot of people working 9 to 5, it's not even about how much money they make, it's not the salary. All
Hmm.
right. Let's unpack this in a less sophisticated but yet relatable way. Okay? Watch this. Someone that works 9 to 5 and they were disciplined in savings, for example. Let's say the person makes, even say $50,000 a year. Let's go right in the middle. $50,000 a year. That's so if you make 50K and you're able to save 5,000 a year, at the end of 10 years, you already saved $50,000. Okay. Now let's just pause for a moment. Let's say you learn about financial literacy. You are able to put a down payment to buy a condo, a house, or whatever. And then that could be your first investment property, for example, where you put somebody in there, you buy a house for $250,000, somebody rents it, somebody cover the mortgage, and maybe you have a few bucks in your pocket. Okay, that's cool. That's property one. Then you go in for another 3 or 6 months. I guess what you do? You take out money from that property, home equity line of credit or whatever it is, refinance, and take money and then go property two, then
Hmm.
property three. So here's the moral of this story here. You could do 9 to 5 and literally come out a multimillionaire, like in a matter of like 20, 30 years, although it's a longer duration to get there because you're strapped by 9 to 5, but you get there. Now, if you take a look from that perspective, you also see someone that makes 100, $200,000 and they're broke as a joke. Then why? They can't cover the bills. Why? So in the process of explaining this, you realize that it is not necessarily a 9 to 5 issue. It's the blueprint of money. That's the issue.
Hmm.
The blueprint of money is completely misconstrued. And because it's misconstrued, people don't understand how money really works. So the way I explain this is this, that the struggle is going to continue as long as you're messing with the most expensive thing you ever own. The most expensive thing you ever own. And that is actually free. Guess what that is? It's financial literacy.
Yeah.
Because once you make a mistake on finances and financial literacy, it's a mistake you're living with for the rest of your life because you keep making the same mistake because you don't know. So it's expensive.
Mhm.
You make money, you buy the wrong things, you spend money on the wrong stuff, consumerism, instead of producing. Like your blueprint of money is different. So it's not a one-time forgiveness. It's every time money hits your hand, you're going for the same problem over and over and over and over. That's why it's the most expensive mistake. But yet, it's free. If you can just like indulge yourself in understanding how money works. So the struggle of 9 to 5, it's not a struggle of time. It's not a struggle of hours. It's not even a struggle of constraint. It's a struggle of understanding how money works.
Mm,
That's what it is. The moment you can educate a man or a woman on how money works, I don't care what that person does, eventually they become free if they execute. That's the issue right there. So it's really sad to see so many people struggle so massively. No. And again, that's why I take financial literacy very seriously. And that's why I said it should be a civil right and a civic right, because I feel, all right, Samantha, take a look at this. Imagine if you have 1 million people in Tampa, for example. Everybody understands financial literacy. Everybody.
mm,
First, look at the acumen of money and how the frequency in which they're operating. Look at how nobody's trying to show anybody anything anymore. They're concentrating on investing. Conversations around kitchen table is what's the latest stocks I could invest in, or what's that land deal over there. Nobody. You could drive a Rolls Royce past it. Nobody even care about your Rolls Royce. They won't even look at you twice, because
mm,
in their mind they're just thinking, how do I make my money work a second shift for me someday when I retire? Like their mind is in a different place. Then eventually, what happened? Everybody's making money because they're making the right money decisions. And then what happened? Crimes are low. There is in like intrinsic benefits to that. People are happier because they
mhm,
can pay their bills. People they go to the park. People are having a good time. They sit down, they watch outside movies. There's peace, and just imagine what that society will feel like. Imagine what that 1 million people. Just imagine what living in that neighborhood will feel like.
mhm.
That's like heaven on earth. Now
Yeah.
compare that to everybody struggling, and look at what happened. And now, oh, you're rich, I have to rob you. No, there's robbery, there's crime, there's this, there's that, cheating, like human nature, character being tested every day. I mean, because why? Because greed, lack of, and ignorance of how money works. So the struggle is a knowledge struggle, it's an execution struggle, it's not really money struggle.
Yeah. That was such great advice too. And I want to go back to the point where you made that money only amplifies who you are. And I was listening to my pastor, I think this was 2 Sundays ago, and he was talking about money. And he's like, it shows you who you are by the money that you spend and where you spend it. Are you giving it to really great causes? What are you doing with your money? And that's a really big part of, I think, financial literacy too, is how you're going to build wealth. So for people listening to this, if they're really struggling and they don't really have financial literacy, what are 2 recommendations that you would make if they're still working their 9 to 5 to start creating financial freedom for themselves?
That's great, solutions. That's great. Okay. We're moving to the solution piece. Number one, you know, first of all, in order for you to change anything, you have to rewire your mind first. You see, your feet will never go to where your head has never been.
Hmm.
So the first thing you got to do is to rewire the mind. And thank God for the ability to do that through scientific brain elasticity and so on and so forth. But let's
Yeah.
put that to the side, okay? The first thing is pick up a book to read. That's the first. For me, there are just two books that are absolutely undeniable path to become financially free. That book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, I
Yeah.
think it's a must read. It's old books, it's been around for a long time. I just
Mhm.
think like it's a must read of a book. It's not even a question. And then the second book, and I think this is so fundamental, you know, especially in a society where, you have parents who are actually working so hard to play their role as a mom and as a dad. And then you pick up a book, like Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and see how the perspective, of money from two different dads, it's just phenomenal. So that literally you don't have to go through those mistakes to actually learn about how money really works. So those two books, that's a start because if you're struggling and stuff like that, you need something to shift the brain. Now, let's say you don't like reading books, then audio. You at least can audio. You're at the gym and stuff, so all this music frequency messing up your brain. You're listening to an audio that is actually enhancing your brain, that you're learning. If you don't like to read, you can at least listen to the audio. Okay. Well, let's say you don't like reading. You don't even like listening to audio books because it just bores the heck out of you. All right, then go get a mentor.
Mm.
Find someone whose life you admire, not just because they're rich, because there's a lot of rich, broken people, spiritually. I don't want them. Or someone that's really rich, but their life is like they're designed to go to hell. I don't want to go to hell. So I
Mm.
want someone whose life, like I admire that life. That's who I would like to be. So I like to make money like that. I like to make sure that my family is tight, like they have a good family background. Me and my wife are comfortable around it. That kind of a concept. Then reach out to them, connect with them. Social media now has put everybody within your zip code. Connect with whoever you want to connect with. Introduce yourself. Ask for mentorship. And some of them may ask you to pay them. If you can afford it, you pay. If you can't afford it, say, I don't have the money, but do me a big favor. I'm going to be one of your biggest mentees. I want to do everything you ask me to do. I want to make the money. Someday in the future, I'll pay you back. Just give me a chance. There are a lot of good-hearted people out there that want to see people win. Somebody will say yes to you. So that's a start. And this, by the way, none of this costs you tremendous amount of money to go pick up a book. A lot of these books, you get them for free on YouTube that you just listen to. That's a start. Because when the mind shifts, then you take inspired actions. Then inspired actions leads to inspired results. And then before you blink, things start moving in the right direction.
You're right. Listening to a podcast or buying books. And I actually knew you were going to say the book about Robert Kiyosaki. I love those two books so much. I've read them multiple times and they such a great perspective of the way someone thinks and how their life actually was created by the way that they think. And then also mentors have completely
Yeah.
transformed my life. And so that's really, really incredible advice. I want to move into retirement now. So, what do you think
Okay.
are some of the biggest retirement mistakes that you see people making today and that they should be aware of?
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Maybe
I devoted
one.
I've devoted a lot of maybe the last year or so. I've devoted 60% of my time just on the topic of retirement and the mistakes being made. And the reason is because I happened in the office where I am one day, I went to a store around the corner and there's this old woman, like she was standing right there. I said, and I got there, I'm like, man, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I work here. I looked at her, Samantha, it's no way. She looked like she's 85 years old. I mean, physical appearance, I don't know how old she really is, but she
Mhm.
looked beat up, like old. And I said, what do you do? She said, I'm a grader. I
Wow.
said, ma'am, I said, listen, God bless you. Whatever I had in my pocket, I just gave it to her. And I said, no, she was touched and everything. I'm like, ma'am, I said, do me a big favor. So yeah. I said, do you really enjoy doing this? Or this is just something you have to do to make ends meet? I says, I need to make extra money. That's why I'm doing this. Samantha, I came back to my office. Or the first thing that came to my mind is how many people in her situation that literally that really struggling so bad that Social Security doesn't fix it for them. None of those things fix it for them. I mean, they were never lucky enough to have a place that was paid off. They still have to rent. They can't make rent. They don't have kids around to support or help them. They are on their own. They have no choice. But they are old. They don't have the strength that you and I have to say, let me go do this or do that. My brain shifted. I started going through retirement. So the first thing, the first mistake retirement is that people start late thinking about retirement. It's
Mhm.
a late start. Like you talk to a lot of people, the subject of retirement never even crossed their mind until their mid 40s. or when they hit 50s, oh my God, this that they have
Mhm.
nothing saved. There's you just so now before they blink, they're 60, and then another blink, they're 65. Retirement is staring at their face. They have nothing to go with. The biggest mistake is honestly is starting too late,
Mhm.
to start thinking about retirement. That's number one. Let me give you number two. If you say retirement, what comes to your mind? You're thinking like you're 65, you're 67, so you retire. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Retirement is not an age.
Mm,
No, retirement is a number.
mm,
Let me explain what I mean by that. You should have a number that once you hit that number, you're working because you choose to work, not because you have to. But it's a number you strive towards. Is it 1 million? Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 25 million? Is it 100? I don't know. But it's a number. That number means once I hit that money, I have enough to take care of myself for the rest of my life. I'm going to have systems and structures in place. I'm going to have annuities. I'm going to have, income property, income producing property. Like by the time my income is coming in, the house is paid off. So if I'm making, if I'm collecting $10,000, $15,000 in rents, in this duplex or what this apartments, then, oh, by the way, I have an annuity that's going to pay me another $5,000, $7,000 a month. Structures that you built and you set those structures in place that your cash flowing,
mhm,
bills are paid. You don't have to worry. It's a number. But what's that number? Here's the question. Most people have no number. Most people never even go there. So they just do 401k and okay, let me see. Maybe you buy a property with the whole one day I will sell it. And property is just like stock market. It could be up or it could be down. So, but there's no structure, there's no system, and there's no number. That's a massive, massive retirement problem. And I feel really bad because if you look for men and women deals with this more than men, and especially a lot of places where women are the head of the household and it's to do with this because they're so busy taking care of the kids,
mhm,
like responsible for so much that by the time they realize it's late, when they start going that direction, my God, I got to save this, I got to save that. It's late at that time. They have no systems, no structures in place to help them. That's the reason why I tell everybody I meet the best time to start your retirement was yesterday.
mm,
The next best is right now because it's only going to be worse tomorrow. So what you can do today, why delay for tomorrow? Because tomorrow is reserved for the labor of the lazy. So why delay? The last one, okay, is they still on retirement. I really believe that if people really understand the essence of life, like really, there's a reason why God put us here. There's a purpose. I mean, I tell people who laugh at that. I say you could have been born a goat. Why were you born a human being? You know, why
yeah.
weren't you? Why?
Mhm,
That's there's a reason why you were born a woman, born a man as a human. There's a reason. Okay. Do you know your calling? Do you know your purpose in life? Do you know why you're here? Like me, I'm very clear that God took me through a journey of financial hardships to use me as an instrument for financial liberation for a lot of people. All right. So I know my journey. And I know I have to pursue that journey very aggressively with every fiber of my being. I know that. Okay. How many people know their goals? How many people are clear about that? So in the area of retirement, what happens is this. If you don't have something that's more fulfilling in life other than money, that one day, when out of this rat race, that actually this is something that I'm going to so much like so beloved that it's going to keep me going. That is just, I don't even care about, I'm just happy just doing those things. But that's nothing to do with like, it's going to pay me money. It's just that calling that God gave you. If you can discover that and you're going to retirement, retirement is short lived. You won't make it that long in retirement. First, they just die. Heart attack, stroke, just die because it's as boring as hell. And
yes.
take it from me, a guy in the world of finance that I've dealt with hundreds of thousands of people in my career. The story never changes, human nature story. So I thought part is you need to be clear about the reason, your purpose, why you're here, so that in that retirement, you can actually continue to enjoy that purpose with every vigor of your being that keep you alive, keep you healthy, keep you engaged, so you can actually enjoy your golden years. All of those three things, those are the
You have
issues.
such great advice. I always say that you should pick something that you would do for free because
Correct.
that's your calling and purpose. Then obviously the money will come by the amount of
Correct.
lives that you're serving. And then
Correct.
I've never heard this before, but I love how you said you have to pick an amount. I always hear by 65, but I've never heard about an amount that you can retire because you can be what? You could be 25 and you can hit that number. So,
Yeah.
wow, that's really, really eye opening. I'm really excited that my audience is listening to all of your financial advice. I really want to focus on life insurance. That's been coming up a lot lately in talks with my friends, and just I know it's essential for financial planning. So, why do you think most people just think of life insurance as something that's only paid out after death? But I know it's also a wealth building strategy. So, can you speak to that a little more?
All right. Let me talk about this in two parts. Okay, in two parts. I have dedicated, obviously, my life, in financial literacy, of which life insurance is a very big chunk of it. And it's not a sexy subject. Nobody wants to talk about life insurance. No. Could you imagine? I'm hanging out with you. I say, "Oh, Samantha, let me remind you that one day you're going to die." Say, "Excuse me?" So,
Oh,
whereas,
yeah.
can you leave, please? Nobody want to have those conversations. No, nobody wants to. But it's one of those inevitable, subject matter that is going to happen. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. We know that. But human coping mechanisms, psychologically speaking, push that away, as a form of coping. Having said that though, so I can, talk about why life insurance is not a sexy subject, to most people, but it's a subject that the wealthy people have embraced. The first part is this: insurance serves its functionality that in the event that the breadwinner dies, that you don't leave chaos for somebody else. Because the people you're leaving behind, they're still going to have to deal with a lot of issues. Somebody passes away, there's flowers bringing food, crying, the bereavement emotions, everything. And then what happened? They all leave. But a week or two later, bills are coming in, the flowers have to be paid, the food did not serve, the funeral, everything. So insurance is needed at the most basic fundamental level, but let's talk about the part of the wealth. Nowadays, I have helped a lot of people using life insurance as a form of a private pension for themselves. And this is an area that very few people touched. But with life insurance, you realize under Section 7702, Internal Revenue Code, to be precise, IRS, they treat life insurance, essentially as a form of investments, that could be tax advantaged, and if properly structured, it could actually be tax free. Let me take it a step further. There's one part of life insurance called a loan provision. That loan provision of life insurance that I can build cash and I can borrow my own money. It's just like you're buying a house you borrow money to buy a house. You don't get taxed on the loan.
Mhm.
Loans are non-taxable. So in this case, you borrow money from a life insurance policy. It's not a taxable incident. So guess what people would do? People would then design a life insurance specifically, either for legacy, trust, wealth building, wealth creation, retirements, and by the way, infinite bank, the list goes on and on. And they would specifically design it with a certain amount of money they want to see in it. That number I mentioned earlier, what's your number to retire? So they will pump money into that life insurance policy like out of control. And then when the time comes, they go to withdraw that money tax free, zero, tax free. Could you imagine in your lifetime you put maybe $300,000 in your lifetime into this plan, and then it's about $1.2 million, and you walk away tax free,
Amazing.
and it's legal and it's
Mhm.
legitimate. Pause and think about that for a moment. That's crazy, isn't it?
So
So
crazy.
what the
Yeah.
wealthy people are doing is they're using those instruments. By the way, you could use it for individual, you could use it for corporations, institutions. There's something we call bully. bank-owned life insurance, that the bank actually have life insurance on themselves. Like Bank of America, I think it's like $23 billion they have.
Wow.
So they would take your money that you deposit in the bank, they will go and purchase life insurance on
Oh my
themselves.
gosh.
And the life insurance will grow, tax-free.
Mhm.
It's using like, options and so on and so forth. They know there's no loss because indexing, market goes up, you make money. Market goes down, you don't lose money because your money is not in the market. Your money mirror and mimics the performance of the marketplace. So there is no loss to your money. The banks will go and dump all this money there. They still get 8, 9, 10% return on those investment in the life insurance. But the banks won't even give you 1% of your own money in the bank. But they're making 8, 9% of that
I
reinvestment.
know.
And they buy that life
Wow.
insurance on themselves. If it's good enough for corporations, banks, shouldn't it be good enough for you,
Mhm.
the average person? So this is what people are doing with life insurance nowadays. And that's why it's structured. Let me even take it historically. Look at your Rockefeller. The waterfall method is a system they designed, but God, it used the instrument of life insurance. Crazy. Look at McDonald's, life insurance. Even look at was it Mickey in Orlando? Uh, uh,
Disney?
Disney.
Yep.
Okay, I call him Mickey. That life
I
is.
knew what you meant.
I call it life insurance. But
So
the
true.
point is, everywhere you go,
Mhm.
this is not. These people are not like today. This is years in the past. They
Mhm.
have been using it, and now the information is just finally getting out to the average person. So the average person is now heavily involved. So let me wrap it up this way. The new insurance has become the wealth creation for an average person to finally do what the wealthy people have been doing for ages. They finally have a chance to do that through the instrument of life insurance. The disqualifier, though, you have to be reasonably healthy, you know? So, in order for you to be able to use it properly, but having said that, it has become the new ways that people are now creating wealth. So you are alive, you're taken care of. And when you're gone, your family is taken care of. One instrument that take care of you in this life and takes care of you after life. Nothing else exists like that. Crazy, right?
Yeah, you did an amazing job describing that too. So, for someone listening to this, you recommend, and I'm just reiterating what you said, to open up a trust and then have a life insurance policy within the trust. And then you could borrow against that money.
Correct? Correct. The people I work with, I recommend that for them. Open up a trust. Get your life insurance. Dump your life insurance in a trust. In fact, I love your stuff going to the trust. Life insurance is already shelter. If I sue you, I can't touch your money in life insurance policy. You know that, right? It's asset protected. It
Yes.
cannot be touched. Okay. So the fact that it cannot be touched, is safe, is growing. It just have all of the elements. Like if you were to rate different investments, different homes of money, from real estate to qualified plans, variable plans, to give me on the stock market and then life insurance beats every single one of them every given day, any time of the
Mhm.
day,
Yeah.
any time of the day, because it has the liquidity, it has the safety, it has a tax advantage, it has a legacy, it has everything that none of them have. All of those 4 or 5, it has all the qualifiers. So I tell my people, get the trust, put the life insurance at the trust, let the trust be the commanding chief. The life insurance just fulfill its parts, and it provide money. And every time somebody passes away, for example, in a family, big sum of money keep going to the trust. This, by the way, that's what the Rockefeller did.
Yeah.
That's why their
Mhm.
wealth continued to perpetuate. Oh, that's correct. That's exactly what they did. So
Mhm.
it was a trust. And they put the life insurance inside the trust. So every time any member of the family passed away, the big sum of life insurance is dumped into the trust again. It's in perpetuity. They invest in railroad, they invest in this, they invest in oil, they invest started. That is how wealth is created. Because most people were not born with a golden spoon. You start somewhere. So yes, sorry for butting in. I could just get excited about
No,
this.
no, you're doing an amazing job. I hope everyone listening to this is taking notes because Note takers are money makers, and you're dropping so many gold nuggets. I really, really appreciate that. Before we wrap this up, if anyone's listening to this today and just could take one action to improve their financial future, what would it be?
Work on yourself. That's say work on yourself. Before you do anything else, work on your identity. Identity first, money second. So wherever your mind goes, your body will eventually follow. So if you work on yourself, and you increase your financial aptitude, decision making, how money really works, the whole foundation of money. Money is in motion. Money is not supposed to be stagnant. If it's stagnant, then you suffocate money. Money will disappear. Bills will come from nowhere. It will just disappear from you. It will force its way out. That every money that leaves your hand should be like a soldier that you sent to war that should bring you back returns. That's supposed to be that.
I love that.
Absent of those is a punishment if you don't have all of those in place. So that you work on understanding how money works and that you work on yourself, your attitude of money, take classes, get mentors, read the right books, surround yourself with the people, who are doing what you want to do. And eventually, guess what happens? If you have 5 millionaires around you, you become the sixth. It doesn't matter, just a
Yeah.
matter of time.
Yes.
My advice.
Such great advice. You are your own biggest asset. I definitely agree with you. All right, we're going to do a fun this or that challenge, and it's going to be money
Okay.
edition. So, whatever comes to mind first. So, save or invest?
Invest all day. Invest.
Would you say passive income or active income?
Always passive income. Active
Mhm.
income will kill you eventually.
Yes, agreed. Crypto or real estate?
All day long, real estate. I
Mm.
want something that's practical that I can touch, I can feel. I know it's there, my property.
Yeah, I was curious which one you're going to say for that. And then retirement at 55 or work because you love it?
Ha! I say work because you love it. Because I mean, if you find your purpose, there is no anytime anymore. You're
Mm.
happy.
Last one. So, would you recommend paying debt off first or invest while you're paying off your debt?
Invest while you're paying off your debt.
Mhm.
That's correct. You're never going to pay your debt off. I don't care who you are. Even Elon Musk still owe a bunch of money, with all of his trades. So
Yeah.
yeah, you invest, Why? So you have to be able to work and chew gum at the same time. Yeah.
Keyword invest. I hope everyone listening to this is going to invest, even if it's small, right? Start off really small and then work your way up. Well,
Very, very small. The idea is the habits. That once you start and you build a habit, a
yes.
dollar becomes $10, $10 become 100, become 1,000. Before you know it, you're off the ground. It's the habits.
Well, thank you so much for your wisdom today. I learned so much, and I'm so excited for my audience to hear this. And for people that are listening to this that want to connect, where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can find me all over my social media platform, Instagram, at Kehinde 10. My first name with 10. And I mean on YouTube, Dr. Kehinde Thomas. On TikTok, Dr. Kehinde. In fact, just Dr. Kehinde Thomas. I'm gonna pop up
You've done a
everywhere.
TED Talk? I didn't know that.
Yes,
I'll have to watch it.
TikTok, Dr. Kehinde Thomas. So you say I'm all over on my YouTube. It's the same thing, Dr. Kehinde Thomas. TikTok, Dr. Kehinde Thomas. I'm on LinkedIn, Dr. Kehinde Thomas. So everywhere is Dr. Kehinde Thomas or Kehinde Thomas, but you will find me.
I
You
love
know,
it. We will
yeah.
definitely link that in the show notes. And I just want to say before we leave, when I met you, I just loved your energy, and you can tell you're just so humble. You're so authentic. I wanted to say I really appreciate who you are and what you're doing in this world.
Oh, that's very, very kind of you, Samantha, to say. Very, very kind of you. By the way, same thing too when I met you and Kevin Trudeau. And I was just shocked that Kevin was there. Then I was shocked. Then I'm like, oh, then I saw you. I'm like, I thought you were Kevin's wife. That's what I thought. And then I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm like, oh, okay. Then you said, no, no, you're a podcaster. You just came to a podcast. I'm like, oh, okay, I got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot
But
of
it
people
was,
thought that. That was funny.
correct. That's the first thing in my
Mhm.
mind. That's exactly what I thought, you know.
That's
But then you say no, and you say no, no, no. He came to your podcast, and I'm like, oh, okay. That's when I first got it right there. but it was great. It was really, it was enjoyable. It was nice to meet you too. It was nice to meet Kevin, but it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. I had a wonderful time, and I hope you guys did too, at the
Yeah,
event.
it was great. We met so many incredible people, lots of great conversations. So, again, thank you so much
Okay.
for being on the show, and everyone listening to this. We're sending you so much love and light.
Thank you so much.